That's a bad rap right there.
Careful, Jimmy's still here.
I was kidding.
Well, the next thing is the draft revisions of growth ordinance.
Alright, no, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Doesn't matter. So, the discussion item is, last meeting we reviewed the growth ordinance and decided to leave it be until we were done with the comprehensive plan. But just by chance, over the Thanksgiving weekend, I opened up that handbook that we just bought, the 2021 Maine Land Use Law booklet, and in there I discovered that our growth ordinance has some serious deficiencies. There's a, I've got it on the back of this draft. In 2007, there was a law passed that says a municipality may enact a rate of growth ordinances that set different limits on the number of buildings and whatnot. A municipality that enacts a growth ordinance shall review and update the ordinance at least every 2 years to determine whether the rate of growth is still necessary and how the rate of growth will be adjusted to the current conditions. And finally, the municipality adopts a rate of growth ordinance only if A, the ordinance is consistent with another part of the law. The ordinance sets the number of building or development permits for new residential dwellings, not including permits for affordable housing, at 105% or more of the mean number of permits used for new residential dwellings within the municipality during the last 10 years. This mean is determined by adding together the total number of permits issued, excluding permits issued for affordable housing, for new residential dwellings for each year in the prior 10 years, and then dividing by 10. So if you look at the way this thing is structured, it kind of forces a gradual increase over time. You only have to do the calculation once every 3 years, but it will force a gradual increase over time. And we just haven't been doing that. So what I've drafted is folding those in with the idea that we start receive a report in I think code enforcement officer shall keep annual records of all new residential construction permits and provide a report to the select board no later than 30 November of each year. And the select board shall review the growth rate for compliance with this new title at least every 2 years, starting with 2023. So that would be next fall. We would do a look and do the calculations, and if it says increase it, we would do so. I've also added in the other two new laws that have come into effect in the last 2 years. One says that a growth rent is not required for a tiny home if it is installed or constructed as an accessory structure, accessory dwelling unit. And the other is that a permit issued for a municipality for an accessory dwelling unit does not count as a permit toward a municipality's rate of growth ordinance. So folded those both in. It's a small change, but, I don't know, you know, if I look at the rate of, we're progressing with the, comprehensive plan thing, we're gonna be a ways down the road before we get to these type of issues, and people are knocking on the door already. We'll probably put it up to a project hearing.
Like you just said, since we're going through the comprehensive plan, we don't leave the growth at 15 for a while. I came across an amendment back in, I don't know, February, March, dealing with the LD 2003, the accessory dwelling units. And in the original law, they said that the town cannot limit growth. The amendment says that the town can have a limited growth, but accessory dwelling units and tiny homes do not count towards the growth. So if we remain at 15 and have 3 dwelling units, and 2 tiny homes, that's 5, that makes 20.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of difference than what you just stated, but it's
Okay.
close.
Yep.
If you put a tiny home on a lot that doesn't have a house, that could be part of the growth. It's
Yes, because standing alone would be considered a major dwelling.
If you put a tiny home on a lot that already has a house, and it's considered an accessory dwelling unit, then it's not counted either. But if you just put it on a lot with no other thing there, then it will be counted as part of the growth.
Yeah.
But I say that this would all go for public hearing sometime next year.
So in addressing the state's effort, there's a shortage of housing, not counting accessory dwelling units and tiny homes satisfies them that a growth ordinance will not detour from creating more dwelling units.
Good. It could. Depends on where you put them.
Just when this is changed, just so that we're not comparing apples to oranges, the new growth limit being calculated off of the average for the past 10 years, when that average is calculated, it sounds like we should make sure that there are no small house or ADU permits in the base that's being averaged to come up with the new target, because the new target doesn't apply to ADUs or small houses. So you could have a situation where when you do your average from the last 10 years, if you had a dozen ADUs or small houses that got, building permits, it could artificially inflate the target that you're setting as your growth limit. So if those little places get a free pass on the growth limit, then we have to make sure that none of them are included in the base.
I tend to agree with you, and those are things that, when we actually put it before in a public hearing, and a vote, that we can iron out. And, but as we stand right now, we're not even compliant with the law in any way.
So what it means is when we look at the number, we can't just look at the number over the past 10 years. We have to look at every building permit to make sure we know what it was for, to see if any of them should be excluded when we calculate that average we're going to use. Does that make sense, Dwight?
Yeah, you just gotta watch if you're given a permit for a garage, it's separate from a garage to a house, to a residence.
Right.
So I'd be watching that.
Yep.
No, I agree with that.
It's pretty well broke down though, you know, in the town report and stuff, when they do the CEO's report and stuff like those.
I think it wouldn't hurt to spell it out.
Okay, the next thing is a liquor license petition. I guess you spoke for a minute.
He, came in last week and presented his completed petitions. He come in earlier this summer, but, in counting the petitions, we discovered that he didn't have the 30 needed. And so we sent him away to get some more, and he came back just last week with some more, so he had the 30 on each one of the petitions. And I reminded him that this is a very specific law. It's not one easily to comply with, unless you follow this thing to the T. And in there, it says petitions, all petition signatures must have been signed since the last general election. So most of his petition signatures are worthless. And I informed him of that, but there's a clause in the law that says, as an alternative to the petition process, the municipal officers may vote to hold a local option election, which must be conducted pursuant to all the rest of the rules. So, I guess what we can talk about here is whether we as a board want to send him back on the road, or vote to hold a local option election. I think he's done the footwork.
I do too.
I was gonna say,
But
but he's done a lot of work for it, and so.
Does he get all Baldwin signatures this time?
Yeah, I mean, that is,
Yeah, he's verified.
It's just that some of them are aged, according to the law.
I don't see a problem with it.
I don't either.
So, if we do it, then there's a very rigorous, it's a referendum vote, which requires a 30-day notice in advance of a hearing, here's 1, 2, 3, 4 different petitions.
All for him just to be able to sell liquor in bottles at the store, no consumption or anything like that?
No, that's not the case. So, what he's asking for is the ability to sell all liquors of all types, and for it to be consumed and there's also one for weekends or whatever, you know, different days, types of liquor, and there's one to be able to serve it for consumption on premise. But they're each individual petition items, so, you know, kind of approve part of it, that's okay, I don't have to approve all. That's the way it's designed. So that, we don't have to.
And Bob, if this went through, then he would still have to come in for a conditional use permit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. But I would say, if these all go through, it wouldn't apply just to him.
No, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, anyway, so,
Like I say, I don't see a problem with it. Don?
He had come in and spoken with me in the middle of the summer, and his plan is to expand the restaurant and that, which is why he wanted the liquor license. He does have it up early. He had a lot of interesting ideas, nothing concrete.
I think, yeah, let it go through and go forward and let the voters decide whether it's yes or no.
Exactly.
All right. Now, I'll make a motion that we hold the,
Matt?
Whether it happens and is incorporated in what is passed by a vote, or whether it happens when he comes back for a CUP, the interest for you guys is the same as it is for the planning board, and that is the safety of the residents, of the people involved with. And the big issue here is parking. Even with just the gas station and the convenience store, traffic there, parking at the whistle stop is a problem with the traffic going by and people pulling out and people trying to pull in and fill their tanks up. If he expands the footprint and has alcohol consumed on the premises, we're gonna need to do studies and calculations to make sure that, you know, the right number of spots are allocated and that the egress and ingress there are set up for maximum safety of people going by.
You'll be happy to know he just redid his parking lot today. Yeah.
He also intends to expand that by cutting down a lot of the tree growth that's there, so they'll have to open air.
well, you know, I know there's two sides to it. This thing can go one both ways.
Yes. And also in support with the planning board, I dealt with, the liquor licenses over in Cornish, since they have 4 or 5 places that serve liquor good. There's 2 types. One that sells liquor, and the other that serves it. The service one, the state really steps in and scrutinizes the situation also.
Yeah. I think he's gonna have a lot of hoops to jump through first.
Oh, I do
He's gonna be able to.
So,
I don't think he realizes this.
well, you know, I don't know what preference is, but he's done the legwork to get the signatures. Unfortunate that it spanned a year where there was a general election. So, I move that we hold a special local option election for the 4 issues that are here in Carnet's petitions.
I'll second it.
Be a busy spring.
Next thing on the agenda here is 19 Dearborn Road.
Oh, last Thursday. Last Thursday? Yeah. Sure.
Thursday before that, because
Oh, Thursday before that.
yeah, because we went through, he was talking about it during last week, Tri-Town meeting.
So, we pushed down the old house, and, it's just a pile of timber right now. But the trailers are still there. And we've received a letter from Mr. Libby, Edmund Libby, claiming that he still owns the property and that we destroyed his house. And we'll be hearing from his lawyer. Stand by.
Don, you said you
That's all we
had,
can do right now.
Don, you said you had an update on that, you talked to him?
I have been in communication with him. He has Pine Tree Legal representing him, and they have told him that what I've been telling him is accurate, and that he shouldn't listen to Ed Libby. But Ed Libby has hired him to clean up the mess as part of fulfilling the requirements. And Ed Libby wants him to continue living on the property. And I informed him that it was town property, and the town has every right to have the vehicles removed when the 10 days is up. And he called Pine Tree, and they said that's absolutely correct. So, he is in the process of moving them up the road, which I'm not sure is gonna help a whole lot, but it might. At least they won't be on town property. I think it's gonna be a complicated situation.
Whose property will they be on?
Up in,
Sanborn.
I'll tell you the name in a minute, Sanborn, maybe Sanborn, is it up on the road a little further?
Great.
There are some issues with them, from what I understand.
Oh.
And he is also in the process of clearing some other land of that Libby's from the adjacent town where he might be. But apparently, Libby wants him there and has told him he can stay. I've tried to explain to them that there are two issues involved. And one is to do with the fact that he doesn't own the property. And there's also the issue of being more than 7 months in a trailer. But they're threatening to move it to the common down in Portland, and I said, good luck with that, I can't decide. There are other people living there. He has assured me, however, in the next couple of days that there was a going to be gone. I'm not holding my breath, but I will continue.
We've heard this before,
I have indeed.
over and over.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Yeah, Wes, good, Wes.
I'm not sure what the status right now is between you selectmen and Keith, but, I'll say something that, might be a little untimely, but I'll say it anyhow. I've been looking for a place for him. I'm working on the 6th place. I've had 5 no's. One was my place. I voted yes, my wife voted no, she won.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to find a place, regardless of the situation. In one of the inquiries, I learned that the state has amended or made a new law that the ordinances of 6 or 7 months on a top before RV trailer has been eradicated, moved, so that will help solve the homeless situation. So I haven't verified, I don't know, it'll take a little research, but the 6 months rule may be out the window.
However, that does not give them right to be camping out on town property.
Yeah, right.
And I have sympathy with people that have nowhere to go, and I've been also trying to help them in a number of ways. You're not aware of that. It's not an easy situation.
No.
As I just said previously, it's 2 separate issues that we're dealing with.
I would just say, Wes, that I don't know where you hear these things, but when you hear them, do your research first before you tell people that, because the things that you tell them, they listen to, and that's what gets their back up and causes them to refuse to comply with our directives. And I don't know if there's a law or not, but, you know, I'm not gonna go tell somebody that there is one.
I have told nobody, I learned this 2 days ago.
Yeah, so.
I just told you.
Get his backs up.
My bad. Thank you.
Next thing on the agenda is the Sanborn Road, the dog complaint status. Yes, you're on the hot seat again now.
It's not all bad news tonight. I spent considerable time yesterday and today trying to resolve the issue. It seemed yesterday it was unresolvable, a lot going on that I don't need to get into. Their lawyer has convinced her to now allow me to do a full inspection, and I can bring Rick with me. You notice tonight we don't have a lot of people here objecting. I did talk to the people who have been making the complaints, and without telling them that the dogs were outside dogs have been either put inside the house or removed or whatever. They said as of Friday morning that barking has stopped. So apparently it is those dogs, but given that I know there were quite a few in the house the day I was there yesterday, It's leading me to think that if a proper structure is built, there may be a way to resolve it so that everybody is happy. I hate it personally when neighbors are at each other's throats. In a small town, I like to think people get along, and if you have an issue with a neighbor, you can go talk to them. At least that should be the first step. It's been a hard place to get to because it's gone on a long time, and the neighbors have felt nobody heard them. But they didn't apparently communicate very well with the town because I don't think the town was aware of the problem either.
We wasn't.
No, we wasn't.
We got
And
kind of
at this point,
blindsided.
they're very happy because they feel now that the town is hearing their concerns.
Good.
And that's gone a long way to make the situation better.
Because we got a new sheriff on the block.
Well,
We will
That end of the room.
All right.
Not me. I've got no update for it. Everything's been going through Dawn, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm not gonna do anything over there until we could try to figure out the CUP stuff, and I get the green light from you guys to do whatever you want me to do.
Yeah. Well, you've been communicating with us.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Before we
Just
had-
trying to stay in the loop.
Right, yeah.
This is one of only two of your dog problems, right?
One of my $1 million problem.
Okay, the next thing on the list is a septic system.
So, as some of you might know, we've had some problems with backups in the building, from a septic, standpoint, with restroom and sinks. And, Anderson Septic came and pumped, the tank, and the water at that time was up over the inlet pipe. So with pumping the tanks, they did a test, where we flushed a bunch of toilets with paper and everything. You could see that, it was flowing freely out to the tank as they should. So it wasn't an issue with pipes from the building out to the tanks. So, I was very happy. I thought the problem had been solved, but, we had some issues with the sink again. So, Brent came back and, today, took, a look at the tanks, and the water was once again up over the inlet pipe. So it's impossible in that short amount of time for us to have flushed, that much water out. So he said, there's a lot of groundwater going into the system, and, the pumps, he went into the pump stations, the pumps are working. There were some floats, one, they're at staggered heights, but one had been hung up on some excess wire, so he adjusted that. Went down into the station and, worked backward, from the pump station to, the outlet baffle, which is between the tank and the station. And there's a problem there in whether it be a T or baffle. So, that would mean having to excavate a little bit to dig up that area to take a closer look at where it might be. So it's not 100% blocked. The water is kind of dribbling out, but it's, in doing so, the pumps aren't able to pump out. It needs to flow freely. It should be moving freely out to that pump station so that the pumps can do their job to pump it out to the leach field, and it's not doing that. So, he suggested, to help save on cost a little bit, to maybe have the road crew help excavate. It's not terribly deep, but, that, area to take a closer look. But in speaking with them before the meeting, I know that they've got a lot on their plate, so it's going to be a timing issue. If that's what you all would like for them to do.
It's all depends on weather and where we're at with other things, because right now we're up on Winston Road trying to get that ready to be half reasonably to plow. So it's depends on timing and weather and everything like that on where we're at, because we still got work to do before it freezes hard, but
Well, do you think you can do it or don't you? Because if not, I mean,
I don't know when he plans on doing it or looking at it.
it'd have to be coordinated. and stuff
Right,
like that.
it's up to you, I mean, we can make time to do it, it's just could take away from other things,
Well, I
but,
think his initial thoughts for when he pumped it a couple of weeks ago, that would buy us some time, given the tank space. He thought there were 2,000 gallons, but when Bob and I looked at the blueprints, it actually had 3,000 on them. So for the water to quickly fill that quickly, I don't know, you know, how much time we have. I'm sure it's been going on probably for longer than what we even realized, but, I guess just kind of sort it out. So, timing. I don't think it's necessarily a real emergency, but.
Well, first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get Norm down here with his, pipe locator, see if he can mark out where it goes from the tank into the pump. That's a start.
And we'll have to coordinate it
Yeah.
with Brent and you guys, or maybe Brent might have to do it, if you can.
Yeah.
He said to be, ultra cautious, you could hire Dig Smart as opposed to Dig Safe. Dig Safe, is for like public, service in terms of locating wires. Dig Smart is private. He's worked with them in the past,
There's gotta be wires out there, there's a
Right.
bunch out there.
His feeling is the breaker boxes in this building,
Yeah.
there's a little, and that they probably run parallel but not on top. So as long as you're really cautious and, not sticking to that small area of focus, he pretty much can measure back from where he went with the snake and got resistance to where he thinks the baffle and T is, where, the box would be to dig up, but.
So you think you wanna bring Norm down here first?
Yeah. I already talked to him, he said he would do it.
He's got special talent.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And that's all I got on the agenda list for now. One thing I do have is your email from Mr. Stroh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
So, I would just see if it follows through and stuff. Like I said, check don't bounce before it hits the ground. You got anything more, Paul? Jimmy?
Nope.
Rhonda? I don't know your name.
I don't have anything, Evan.
Evan?
Yeah.
He's with you, right?
Yeah.
I know her, but I don't know you. Victoria?
I don't think
Okay. Dawn?
I'm in enough trouble already.
Just thinking before your life preserver.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Connie? Mary?
No, thank you. Christmas
Yeah.
at the library on the 10th and tree lighting on the 11th. And, would your sister be donating a tree possibly?
You don't know.
Can I call
I'll have
her
to
and
ask her.
ask?
I can call
Either way,
her.
okay?
All right, yeah,
We should do that.
I'll try to take care of it for you.
Okay.
Wes? Chris?
well, I already told you guys that we're up on Winston Road trying to get that ready, because obviously we're gonna have to plow that. The 21 International is out of service. It is down to Portland North, needs a bunch of rear end suspension work. Parts are back ordered. No timeline on when we're gonna get it back. He said maybe by spring. He goes, it could be next week, it could be next summer. He goes, I don't know.
Way to.
So that's sitting down there. It's another $5,000 to do it. So he told me we could come get it if we wanted to, and we could use it, but he goes, you gotta sign the paperwork that says we're telling you it shouldn't be on the road. And I said, no, thank you. Yeah, right. They wash their hands, give it to me, no. The 550s are gonna get tires on Monday. And you'll see that bill come across. That isn't cheap. Our Jeff Hartford came out and installed the new antenna on the tower for our base station for the radios. Everything is much clearer now, and I can talk to Stevie when he's up on Winston Road. Okay.
Y'all ready for snowstorm?
Nope.
Good?
Nope.
Think so?
Not now.
That's a big deal with that new rent. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so, I think I spoke too soon when I said I didn't want Sebago's problems with a blown transmission, well, I got the same problems, just different.
Yours hasn't come apart yet.
That's true, it's still whole. I didn't have to tow it in, so, there is that. Trying to think if there's anything else. Nothing that I can think of off the top of my head.
All right. Matt?
The next meeting of the Comprehensive Plan Committee is going to be Wednesday, the 21st at 3 o'clock. We'll have another chapter of the Comprehensive Plan to look at. It'll be sent out a little bit before then. And we'll also have the final draft of the survey that we're targeting to go out. We made a decision to, the group made a decision to do that after the holidays rather than trying to get people to respond to a survey during the holidays. And Southern Maine is working on the postcard, the letter, postcards that will be mailed out to everybody to get them to respond to the survey, and we found a way to use the tax records to get notices out to the people that own land and houses but don't live in Baldwin and things like that. So it's going along pretty well. I mean, it's a 2-year process, 2 to 3 year process. So, as Bob mentioned earlier, we're not going to get to the point where we start trying to develop policies and procedures and strategies based on what we learned from the survey. We won't be doing that. I think the earliest we would be getting into that would be the spring or summer. But it's going according to plan at this point.
Yep. Joe?
Yeah, just an observation. You guys seem to have come to a point where you're getting completions. I'm seeing a lot of completions, a lot of things getting accomplished. You've spent the last maybe couple of years digging into finding out what the problems were that needed to be solved. And it's one of the problems of town government versus private enterprise. In private enterprise, the boss says, do it, and it's done. And in town government, it can take a year to get at the septic system. Or to get the Baldwin signs up, or it just, I just want to say it's really nice to sit out here and to see you guys getting completions and getting things done.
Thank you. It's good to do it.
The signs look good too. Yeah.
You're working with your hands tied. I had a hard time with that when I retired, and I got involved here with little mining. It's not that you'd like to work faster, but you always get somebody that's going to try to shoot you down if you do. And you hit it right on the head when In the private sector, if they give you something to do, you can start on it right there, line your work out and get it done. Here, you're right, it's a little different. Stevie? No? Chad? You been in Sanborn?
Where it was this week.
Where's the picnic tables?
One that was in the corner, that got moved back.
I know that.
That one did. I ain't seen the other one been moved yet.
No, they're lined up now.
Yeah.
Bruce?
Couple things. We was invited to Stannis last night. 8 of our guys were down there. The guy was from ATF and in the state of Maine, New Hampshire, and very informative. Kind of scary on some of the stuff he was talking about. He went over the Joel Barnes fire that happened, and I don't know what to take him, probably an hour, probably to talk about it, but then you stop and think everything happened in 4 minutes' time.
Well,
And it opened some eyes, including on our techniques and what happened. And did, doesn't have to happen. Unfortunately, that one happened, so.
yeah,
So,
I'll tell you about it.
that was very good. I was glad that, they invited us down to it. It was
Yeah.
very informative. Payroll will be coming up. We're gonna start that just the end of this month. So by 2 weeks from now, we'll have payroll from our department.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Anybody else got anything?
I do one thing, staff meeting, I know it's kinda late now, the plan one for next week, we usually try them first Wednesday of the month. Start picking those up again the first of the year.
Yeah. See if we can get a little better on that.
Yeah, so we can keep up with things and.
Well, it gets everybody together.
Yeah.
It's like what we're talking about tonight, you're picking everybody's brain a little, Mike.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't always know what's going on, or what he's got lined up to do, or what Robin's got to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
when we do get together and talk like that, find it out. That's all I got.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.